what is psychotic insight? That's super important and super central to what I wanted to talk about this morning.
Yeah, that was an interesting concept that gave me a lot of.
So tell everybody,
Well, I think
let's
psychotic insight is it's a weird name, but what it
It
is,
is.
yeah, it doesn't really sound like what it would be.
Yeah.
But what it is essentially, I think what it is subconscious resistance
Hmm.
is what it should be called,
Yep.
because it's
You can
like
call it that.
they
That's fine.
think you're on to them, and the subconscious thinks, oh, they want me to do this, or they're pointing out that, and it goes like this in different ways. So
Exactly.
it puts up a block.
That's exactly right. And so the whole thing with diagnosing clients, believing their symptoms, believing their story, as soon as we buy into that, we've awakened psychotic insight because now
Right.
we're involved with the surface level thing, which creates the tension in the person, which is why they're in front of you because they think they have a problem. So that's
Right.
exactly the whole, brilliance of just starting with, well, what's the problem? Is I've already bypassed the, oh, hi, why are we here today? Oh, so we're going to solve problems today. How's that going to be? Like anything a therapist does in that first little few minutes, even the whole thing with like, are you comfortable? Is it warm enough in here? All that little shitty, whatever, they're trying to make you feel good. But it's freaking out that piece of the subconscious that's so juvenile and so delicate, right? So we're not hypnotic in those moments. We're being very gross, basically. I don't mean gross like yucky. I mean gross like large.
Mhm.
But the subconscious is very delicate and is very sensitive and it's childlike. I don't know if I told you this yesterday, but I tell people this all the time. The subconscious is childlike. It's like 7 or 8 years old in terms of how evolved it is in terms of analysis. Well, an 8-year-old still believes in Santa. Like 8-year-olds don't really distinguish between fact and fiction yet. That's how your subconscious is, and that's what I'm talking to. So I have to talk to it in a way that's not at all buying into all the bullshit that it piled on top of itself, which is all the stuff like, oh, but I'm so complicated. Oh, but the reason I can't is this. Those are all your conscious mind backwards rationalizing why your subconscious isn't doing what you want. And as soon as I become attracted to that story, I'm now on your timeline. But that's why you came to me to not go there. So, like, this is a very interesting thing you're bringing up about, like, oh, but maybe I know more than other people, and, that's why it doesn't work. What I hear is, oh, that's your conscious mind telling me a story about how it's justifying something. And so, if I buy that, then I've triggered your psychotic insight. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
So, like, basically, let me ask you guys this. What does the client always bring? When they start talking, when they come to the discovery call, when they fill out the form at the beginning, what do they always bring to you?
I don't know I'm not sure what you're asking. I don't fill out forms, but they just send me photos because that's how I work. But I think they always bring,
Like
well,
when they
they
sign
bring,
up to see you, they're like, the reason I'm coming is because of,
oh, like in that way, well, they want guidance.
yeah,
They
they
want,
think,
they want clarity.
yeah,
They want peace of mind. It
yeah,
depends what they come for. They
yeah,
want,
exactly. So they have some problem, which is either
right,
depression, anxiety, divorce, breakup, physical issue, whatever it is. But when we hear that, it always is one thing only. And I'm talking from my perspective as a hypnotist. I'm not talking, if I was a medical doctor, I would do a different thing when somebody says to me, I have a headache. Then I would be like, oh, we need to do blood test or we need to send you for an MRI. But that's not my job. And by the way, if somebody does do that, and I'm going to talk about this later and tomorrow, there is a protocol, right? Like I'm not just seeing everybody who walks into my office because that's dangerous. So if
right.
it's somebody else's problem that needs to be in somebody else's office, let's be clear about that. So if you have psychoactive condition, bipolar, schizophrenia, I'm not going to work with it.
Right.
So aside from those, which I delineate, through my discovery call, which by the way, I'm doing a class on that next week on Thursday, I believe, in the evening. You have to do that as well. Beyond that, when the client starts telling us why they're there, what are they telling us? And what
They,
part of their mind are they using?
Their conscious.
I think they're using their conscious mind.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. Both of you were right. So, Diana, when they start talking through their conscious mind, what are they telling us?
Just the stuff the problems they already know.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's what they think. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, if you're depressed, you've spent some time thinking, well, I must be depressed because blah, 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 blah. And then you've also thought to yourself, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it true that every single person who's ever come to you for depression or anxiety has already tried going to the gym or being on an MRI, whatever they're called, MRIs or whatever they are, MSS, I can't remember what they're called, or they've tried talk therapy or they've tried CBT. So it's not like they're not aware. They know they have the thing, they know that they're working on it, but they're working on a conscious version of it. That's why it's not going anywhere. And the more they get involved with the consciousness, actually, what's happening is it's backwards rationalizing itself more and more deeply and more storytelling. So it's super important as receive somebody for the first time to just not, I'm not saying be dismissive. Like, obviously, we're not going to tell people, like, no, that's not what you have, because they do believe that, and that is why they're asking for help. So we're going to honor that and take it seriously. But if you buy into it or you get involved with it at all, you've already, lost your hypnotic posture. So symptoms are never going to solve anything. What a person sits in front of you and tells you is not the real thing. And then as you go through the session, did you guys think about, I want to ask you some questions about what happened yesterday. First of all, you probably had some weird dreams and were very tired. And I don't know, it took me like 3 hours after I got off the call to even know what I was doing. Like at some point at like 9 p.m., I was like, what the fuck am I doing for the last 3 hours? I've been like in a total daze. So probably you noticed that you're like did you guys all notice that? How incredibly, so that's the feel. And obviously if we do it for 6 straight hours, it's more, it's more intense and it's a little bit more hard to manage or whatever. But that's the feel of hypnosis. So
I'm
that's the thing
still
that we're
tired.
building. Mhm.
I'm still tired, still in a
Yeah,
bit of a
exactly.
daze. Yeah.
I don't work the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after this because it takes me a few days just to like recharge my whole battery. I mean, I work in the office and I do stuff, but I don't give sessions. It's like that. And so when I tell you tomorrow that we're going to charge 1,500 bucks per problem, you're going to be like, oh, no, I'm not. That's impossible. Let me tell you, if you do it every day, it's going to cost your energy. So you have to. It's like just implicit that if you want to make a living, which is like 6, 8, 10, 10 grand a month, like that's all the energy we have, including running the business, social media, responding to people, creating content. We can't see that many people.